Hook 015s. Somewhere out there, a person is sitting in a $4,000 ergonomic chair inside a $3 million apartment, staring at a paycheck most people would cry over, and feeling completely, utterly, hopelessly broke. And the terrifying part? They're not wrong. Tension 1560s. There's a post that's been circulating online recently. Someone wrote that they earn $250,000 a year, and 4 years ago, when they made $120,000, they were happier. They felt richer. They felt free. Now they feel like they're drowning. The comments exploded because thousands of people felt seen by it. And that raises a question that should genuinely disturb you. If more money is supposed to fix the problem, why does more money keep creating new ones? This isn't a story about budgeting. This isn't a lecture about lifestyle inflation. This is a story about a psychological trap so sophisticated, so deeply woven into the architecture of modern ambition that most people don't even realize they're inside it until they've already given up a decade of their life to get there. Body. Let's go back to the beginning. In 2010, two Princeton economists named Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton published one of the most cited studies in the history of money psychology. Their finding? Emotional well-being stops improving once you earn around $75,000 a year. After that, more money doesn't make you happier on a day-to-day basis. That study got a lot of attention. But here's what nobody tells you about it. That number was in 2010 dollars. Adjusted for inflation and cost of living in 2026, depending on where you live, that threshold might be $90,000, maybe $110,000. In San Francisco or New York, maybe $160,000. So right away, something interesting is happening. The goalposts moved, not because of greed, because of math. But that's only the surface layer of this thing. Here's where it gets genuinely strange. Researchers who followed up on Kahneman's work found something unexpected. For a specific group of high earners, more income actually correlated with increased emotional distress. Not less. More. Why? Because of what economists call the reference group problem and what psychologists call social comparison theory. And it works like this. When you earn $50,000, you compare yourself to people who earn $50,000, your neighbors, your coworkers, your college friends. And within that group, you can feel okay. You can feel normal, maybe even comfortable. But when your income jumps to $250,000, your reference group changes. Suddenly, you're surrounded by people who own second homes, people who fly business class without thinking about it, people whose kids go to schools that cost more per year than your first salary. You earned more, but you feel poorer. Not because your bank account lied to you, because your brain is comparing you to a completely new set of people, and you're losing. This is the first trap, and almost nobody escapes it. But there's a second trap, and this one is more insidious. It's called lifestyle creep, and you've probably heard the term. But I want to talk about the psychology underneath it, because the common explanation misses something crucial. Most people describe lifestyle creep as simply spending more as you earn more. New car, nicer apartment, better restaurants. And that's true. But here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. Lifestyle creep isn't just about spending. It's about identity. When you get a raise, you don't just buy nicer things. You become someone who buys nicer things. You internalize a self-image that requires a certain level of consumption to feel coherent. And once that identity is locked in, scaling back feels like a loss of self, not just a loss of comfort. A researcher named Kivetz at Columbia Business School studied what he called the treadmill of aspirations. The idea that every time we achieve a new level of consumption, our sense of what we deserve recalibrates upward, and we feel entitled in a psychological sense to maintain it. So the new baseline stops feeling like a luxury It feels like a right. That's why the person making $250,000 feels broke. They're not being irrational. Their costs are real. Their stress is real. But the engine driving it isn't financial. It's psychological. Now here's where I want to slow down for a second, because there's a third layer to this that almost no one talks about: the loneliness of high earning. When your income reaches a certain level, something quiet and strange happens to your social world. You start editing yourself. You stop mentioning the vacation. You feel guilty bringing up your apartment. But you also feel vaguely resentful when you're expected to pick up the tab again. Or when friends assume you don't have financial stress because the number on your offer letter is big. You don't fit cleanly into the world you came from anymore. But you don't feel like you belong in the world of true wealth either. You're suspended in between, earning like a rich person, but still carrying the anxiety of someone who knows what it felt like to have nothing. There's a term for this in sociology: upward mobility grief. The quiet mourning of the identity, community, and simplicity you left behind on the way up, and nobody warns you. The whole culture around career and salary treats higher earnings as an unambiguous win. LinkedIn will celebrate your promotion. Your parents will tell their friends, but inside you're sitting with a feeling you can't quite name, a sense that you worked incredibly hard to arrive somewhere, and it doesn't feel like where you thought it would be. Climax. Here is the central insight, the one that ties all of this together. We treat income as a destination, but it was always a moving vehicle. Every time you reach a number you once dreamed about, the dream recalibrates. Not because you're broken or ungrateful or bad with money, but because the human brain was never designed for a world where wealth is numeric and infinite. It was designed for a world where social comparison was local, stakes were concrete, and status was legible. We are ancient software running on a modern economic operating system that was never built for us. The $250,000 earner who feels broke is not a cautionary tale about greed. They are a data point in a much larger pattern. A pattern that shows us that without intentional, deliberate psychological architecture around what enough actually means to you, no salary will ever be enough, because enough is not a number. It never was. Ending. So what do you do with this? Not a budget, not a spending tracker. Those are fine, but they treat the symptom. The real work is harder. It's asking yourself, with genuine honesty, which parts of your current lifestyle you chose, and which parts you inherited from the version of yourself that was trying to prove something. To a boss, to a parent, to a past version of yourself that felt like it didn't have enough. Because the moment you can tell the difference between what you want and what you're performing, the treadmill slows down. Not because you earned more, but because you finally stopped running from something that was never chasing you. The most dangerous thing about the salary trap isn't that it's hidden. It's that it's disguised as success.